Hi friends, in our most recent video, we reviewed some of the details of the jig style of Irish music. I know we're familiar with it. However, it's important for us to know some of how a jig is constructed. That'll help us play it better. Remember, the jig is a sequence of measures that are 6 beats long, and it runs 2 groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can imagine someone in light dancing shoes just kind of floating around the room, and that'll help you get the idea. Now it's time for us to learn a jig. And I chose for us today to learn the Swallowtail Jig for a couple of reasons. One, it's really popular and we need to know it. Two, it's not too long. And also, and probably most importantly, it's a jig that marries well with our current skills and abilities. So you and I, with what I know we can do, we can play this jig. Now again, as I've said so many times, play as you can, not as you can't. Don't feel like you've got to race through this tune. You've got to learn the tune and learn to play it well. And then once we've learned to play it well, we can begin playing it a little faster. Learn to emote the tune. You know I like to tell the story behind tunes. And I wish I could with this one. This is another one of those tunes that's quite old. It appears in some of the early mid-19th century collections of Irish tunes without the story behind it. There's speculation, but I'm not buying any of it. The tune goes by a variety of names, but I'm using the Swallowtail Jig as the name for us. What I want to do so that we can learn this tune, I'll give some introductory comments to some of the notes in the tune and the range. Not much. And I'm going to stand so you can see my fingers. I'm going to play fairly slowly through the tune. And then after that, I'm going to go through and tell you like where some ornaments would fit well and a couple trouble spots that might trip you up in the tune. And I will also make available to you the to download or just to access the music and the tin whistle tabs in the key of D. I know everyone doesn't read music, and that's fine. Remember, I'm experimenting with teaching us these songs without the music because we can't use it as a crutch. It's a tool. But if you read music, you can access it and use it as a tool. So what I'd like you to do is listen and pay attention while I play. Then we'll go through those trouble spots. Then I'd like you to back the video back up to where I played the tune and play along with me. This is the play along with Scott portion. I'm going to play the tune in a very straightforward way without a lot of ornamentation or changes in syncopation because I feel like you and I need to learn the core of the tune. It is from the core of the tune that we personalize it and add life. So if you don't learn the core of the tune though, then you're going to be modifying somebody else's expression of it. You and I need to learn the proper traditional expression of the tune, and then you ornament that. So let's jump in. So as we go through the Swallowtail Jig, listen for those groups of 3 and how they kind of play together. Remember, I'm going to be playing this fairly straightforward, and then we're going to talk about some of the ways you might ornament and syncopate the tune for yourself. So the Swallowtail Jig, it starts off with, on a D whistle, it starts off with a G, and then I hope you can see my fingers. I've got a little walk-in, 2-note walk-in I've heard. I've got that on the music if you want. It just goes, because it starts with a G, but it feels nice to step into the tune by going E, F sharp, G. It's just how I like. That's the only thing I'm going to throw in here. So the swallowtail jig, fairly straightforward. So listen through that a few times. Go ahead and watch the rest of the video and then come back to this point, like I said, and then try and play along with me. So a couple of things that are important to note. I want to touch on one trouble spot. The end of that second line, I'm going to play the last two measures for you. That last note there, that E, that is actually a count of three. Don't cut that short or you're going to jump back into the tune too quickly. You want to hold that out for the proper count. That's why it's important to know the count of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you need to hold that out for the full length. As far as ornamentation goes, there's some areas you could slide into if you want, like sliding up to some of the higher notes. But being a dance tune, you're not going to do that unless you're emoting it differently. You could. But that's a completely different emotion to the tune than if you're going to play it more lively. It's a great tune to throw in some cuts and taps and even like a little roll. So at some of the step downs and from a syncopation standpoint, you don't have to hold every note exactly 1, 2, 3. You can. I'll show you a couple of those. So you could start feeling that pause I had there from the D to the C sharp to the D. And I've heard that in other ways, but I like the pause there. And coming down to the end of that second line. Hit a couple of taps and a cut. I think that's actually going into a roll, so that just kind of sounds nice there. I wouldn't do it every time you hit that phrase, but I would do that at least at the end of the song. You could throw some vibrato at the end of the song if you wanted, but that again depends on how you're expressing it. If you're playing it with that lighter dance feel, I wouldn't throw vibrato on it because that's more that's a thoughtful emotion rather than the happy light emotion. And I am either later today or tomorrow going to post a recording of my playing it with the ornaments that I'm feeling with this. But as you're hitting some of the step downs, as you're going up, please feel free to ornament that, experiment with this tune. It is as you learn the core of this tune and that you're able to begin playing it well, add the ornaments in and experiment with them, please. So anyway, that is the Swallowtail Jig. Now, go print the music if you want, but go back to where I just played it through and play along with Scott. Until next time, this is Scott Shade. Happy low D whistling.